And we're recording. So today's class is very important, very interesting. It is an elective, it is not a core course, but Vastu is very important. You've heard about it in block 1, and then we're going to go a little deeper. I consider it extremely important for an Ayurvedic practitioner to have a very good knowledge of Vastu, if not, because not all of us can get proficient in Vedic astrology. It's very hard, but Vastu is a lot easier. And Vastu is also a chikitsa. Now, if you remember, when we started studying Ayurveda, one of the first things we study is that man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. That means whatever is in the environment is influencing that person. So Vastu, what is Vastu? Here, hang on a second, let me... So today we're going to really go into what is Vastu, not a very basic, but a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about directions in Panchamahabhutas. And by the end of this class, you should be able to make this chart with 4 directions and the Panchamahabhutas in this direction. All right, let me... Can everybody see this? Yeah. Can you see this? Okay, perfect. So this is the same thing that my student Kristen did under me. Now she did a very basic but a very thorough, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper using her presentation. We'll just keep on adding. Let's start with Vishwakarma. Now, Vishwakarma is in the Vedas, there is a presiding deity for everything. There's a presiding deity for Ayurveda, which is Lord Dhanvantari. So he is the presiding deity for health. So the presiding deity for buildings and houses and land and architect, all the architecture and engineering, the presiding deity. And Christina, yeah, you got to worship this person. He is the presiding deity for all engineering in the world and architecture. He is Vishwakarma. Did you know about him? I know we don't knew about him, but I'm not sure everybody does. So in India, all engineers will, worship engineers and, hang on a second. Yep, he is the god of engineering. Really, yes. And he's also the god of architect and buildings. So, mostly they will, they say he's mostly structural engineering, but I believe he's all engineering because all engineering involves kind of, I think except for software, but Atul will also give him respects. So he is the presiding deity of all engineers and all architects and all the structure and basically the, how things are in the physical world, in the physics. And if you want to create something which has physical matter, whether it's a building or let's say it's a rocket, or you have to use physics, then you need to worship Vishwakarma. I'm sorry, I have to say this. But in India, every time ISRO, which is the Indian Space Research Organization, they send a rocket into space, or they just, I think, launched 620 satellites into space like last month. They do this big yagya for Vishwakarma. They all worship, whether it's not advertised, but you see them doing all their little pujas and whatnot. Now for Vastu and also for Ayurvedic practitioners, along with Lord Dhanvantari, Lord Vishwakarma is very important. Why? Because we have to, whether we have our own office where people are coming to see us, or whether even in our own home, and also to invoke a place which has healing. Just going there gives us a place of, it's a place of healing. To create your space into a place of healing, we need to invite not just Lord Dhanvantari, but Lord Vishwakarma in there. It is important. So he is a very important Upanishadic, I don't know, this is not even a word, an important figure from the Upanishads. Yeah. So he also created the city, underwater city of Lord Krishna. 5,000 years ago when Sri Krishna was on earth, he created a city which was an island. Now it is underwater city. It was sunk under the water in the Indian Ocean, on the east side of India in Gujarat. So just where Maharashtra, Mumbai is, beneath that is Gujarat. And there he created the city called Dwarka. So Vishwakarma was the chief architect for that. So, in India, there are people we worship. There's a day called Vishwakarma Day. So no engineer, no architect, nobody will work on that day because they're paying homage. They're giving their honors to Lord Vishwakarma. They won't even people who work with tools, carpenters and whatnot, they won't touch anything which on that day. So, there's people in India, when you have the Vishwakarma Day, people don't drive. They say, what if we break down? Nobody will help us. They won't help you. Says, today is Vishwakarma Day. Today we only worship. We cannot help anybody. I'm not kidding you. So with that, let's, I invoke Lord Vishwakarma. Om Vishwakarmaya Namaha. Please bless us so that our place where we are going to be seeing clients and our house and home and office, wherever we are, it be blessed. It become a place of healing. And if there is any, vastu dosha, if there is any faults, that may be removed. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So this was the thing we told you in block 1, right? But Vastu Shastra is just more than building, let me tell you. It is a lot more than building. Let me share the whiteboard. So Vastu Shastra comes from a branch of Vedas called Sthapatya Veda, or Vedic science of engineering and architecture. Yep, that is totally for real. That is totally for real. So Sthapatya Veda comes from Vedic science of engineering and architecture. Now in Vedas, everything has a science, has a presiding deity. For example, I think Pradeepa, you're here, right? She does this dance, this Indian classical dance. You do Kuchipudi, right? I mean, I used to do Odissi, and we had Dr. Sahana who did Bharatnatyam. All these dances come under Natya Shastra, which is a branch of Veda which tells you how to do theater and stage and acting and dance and drama. And it tells you that a person should leave feeling happy. For example, in Natya Shastra, it should not have a unhappy or sad ending, because unless it's a cathartic effect, but there should still be hope at the end of it. And a person should enter from this side. So even the art of constructing a stage and where the audience should be sitting, which side it should be facing, where the dancer or the actor should be coming from, that is part of that. That is also a little bit coming from Sthapatya Veda. Sthapatya Veda, sthapati, meaning that it is established. Sthapatya really means it's established. So it is the Vedic science of engineering and architecture, and part of that is Vastu. And we've heard Dr. Vasant Lad, of course, he's like the Acharya, the guru of Ayurveda here in US. He says Vastu triumphs Ayurveda. If Vastu is not correct, then Ayurveda cannot do anything. And I totally agree. Why? Because if we are the sum of if whatever's happening outside is happening inside us. If your environment, let's say right now you're in an island and there's thunderstorms there and it's raining there and there's a lot of wind, that is going to affect your doshas, right? That's going to affect your home where you live. So whatever's happening outside is happening inside. So your home, your office, where you live is also going to affect your health. And that is the portion of Sthapatya Veda, the Vedic science of engineering and architecture. That is what we are concerned with. Yeah, there's 4 directions, and there's these northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. And, we do this. I'm going to do this right at the end. I really want to give you a good basis of why Vastu is so important. And, feel free to ask questions. Let's see how many participants we have here. Okay, so if you can manage to find the chat, can you please write in your own words, what do you think Vastu means? So, I know that, Connor, that you keep on moving from place to place. So you don't have to be living in one place to have a Vastu. You can make your own Vastu. I mean, you can. When I was in ashram life for 4 or 5 years, I would carry my Vastu little bundle everywhere. And wherever I stayed, we would stay in ashrams, or we would be traveling. We traveled to England and Australia and Canada and whatever. People would, my Guruji would do these lectures and programs, and we would get this, we would either be sleeping outside in the veranda or in the cow shed or whatever, because, we were like all nomads and mendicants. But we would make a little Vastu, whatever for the night I was staying at, I'd make a little Vastu place right there. The direction, that's beautiful, Jade. Harmony within one's environment, direction of architecture. Very nice, very nice. Everybody write whatever you think it is. So let me take what, Jane, you've said, harmony within one's environment. So let's break down this environment a little bit further. Everybody can see this whiteboard, right? Yeah. So let's break down this environment. I'm going to use a nice pink color here. Is this environment, which kind of environment? It's the building you work at, office building? Is it your home, apartment, the land, your state, your city, whether it's hilly or flat? What kind of environment are we talking about here? Yes, all of it. So within the Sthapatya Veda, all of this is affecting our health. All of this is affecting our well-being. But very specifically in block 1, we were just talking about, where the house you live in or the building you live in. Even, for example, let's say you work in a corporate office, and they give you these little. I mean, I haven't worked in corporate for 15 years now, but I did at one point. And they give you these little cubicles to work in, and my work used to take me to different departments, so I would get a new desk every 3 or 4 weeks. And I would carry my little Krishna and my little Vastu thing, and my little mantras and yantras everywhere. They would make fun of me, like Miss Hippie or whatever. But then my desk used to be the most popular. Everybody wanted to come and have lunch at my desk. And I thought it was really, really funny. I said, if you make fun of me and if you think I'm this hippie, why are you coming here? It was really funny. Yeah, they would all get attracted to my desk all the time. The 3-4 years that I was in that last corporate job, I used to carry my little Vastu. I mean, of course, you can. Fortunately, I could ask the IT department to shift my computer. Just to give you one example, I'm a teacher. I do classes, right? So in my home office where I'm doing the class from, my desk faces east, which is not, from the person who designed the office, it's not very efficient because it takes up a little bit more space facing east. But if I face south or if I face west, the class is not going to be as good. I won't be as efficient. Now, when I was in California, I faced south, and I would, in the middle of the class, I would start getting sick. So I kind of changed the direction, and there was no sickness. Always. And, sometimes I would face in the direction of earth, direction of fire, which was southeast. And there were always these electrical issues that would happen. So even where you're facing that, like it, that kind of environment in your office, down to, you know, the land that you're at, the soil, the gardening. That's why doing gardening is so important. You know, touching the soil and giving it love and affection. Um, then of course, you know, okay, why Vastu? So we know what is Vastu, but why for an Ayurvedic practitioner? Forget what it can do for a client. What will this do for you? What is it that you are trying to do? We are trying to, it is a lot more important for, that is correct, Vastu, but that, Connor, that's 100% correct. Great answer. But what I'm trying to say, Feng Shui is only 10% of Vastu. Because, okay, let me see, I had a couple of things that I wanted to share with you if I can find them. Yeah, I had taken some, let's see if I can, here it is. Let's look at some Vastu buildings here. Can everybody see this? I'm sharing some pictures. Can everybody see this? Okay, let me see. How new share? Here you go. Okay, sorry. Forgot to click on that. You should be able to see it now. Yeah, so you see now these are like big mega mansion hotel kind of places. What is it that you're seeing here? Right in the center. Space. Whether it's your house, your office, and it doesn't matter. Oh, you just found the chat pretty fun. Okay. I know. I love Zoom. I find it so much better than, it just has a, you know, higher resolution of video, and it's just much better. I like it. So here's a couple of pictures. So what is it that you're seeing right here is the center, is the space. There's light coming in and it's completely empty. So let's talk about, I'm going to make a new whiteboard here. All right. Might as well finish it. So the center is space, whether it's your house, office, and this center is also called Brahmasthanam. Oops. So I don't know where you're sitting right now. You may be in your apartment or your house, or if anybody has a home office. The center of that space, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, should be empty. And if it's not, you know, people in that center will put big pieces of furniture. This is Brahmasthanam. It is supposed to be clean and empty. And if you are going to put a piece of furniture in there, it should be low. And ideally, there should be some light in there. So if you don't have a light, you can, you know, put an artificial light there. But this is where the energy moves from. Same thing, if you have a desk right now, everybody look at your desk. I have to make an effort to clean my desk because I can be dirty, but I try. Look at your desk, and right at the center of your desk. So what I do to create space in my desk is I've pushed the monitor all the way back, so it's almost touching the wall, and the keyboard is near me. So it creates a space in the middle between the monitor and me, which is kind of weird, but it actually creates harmony. Can everybody look at the little desk? Or unless you're on a laptop. Yeah, see, one thing, you know, this whole laptop business and taking the laptop and taking it anywhere is all good, but from a Vastu perspective, you will not, I mean, when you're doing some work which requires your concentration, you need to have a desk, and you need to be facing east, and you need to, you know, have something tangible, because we work in on the internet, on the cloud, And those things are, it's all air and space. It's electricity. It's not tangible. So giving it some kind of, um, how shall I say it? By doing the work on a desktop or the laptop on a table every day at the same time, it will increase productivity. And how do I know that? Because I've had my clients do it, and it works for them. Not just the Kapha clients, especially the Vata clients. Anyway, so the middle of the space should be Brahmasthanam. Very important. So one of the things that I want to do in the other classes is, if you could give me make a little blueprint of your house or apartment, and we'll discuss that in class. You're facing east, awesome. Yeah, east is the best. You just definitely never ever want to be facing south. That is the worst, because your health will not be so good. So from an Ayurvedic but your desk is facing south. That means you're facing north. Get it? It's not what your desk is facing, what you're facing. North is okay, Viro. Get it? If you are sitting in south, but your face is towards the north, that's okay. North is good, east is good. East is best, north is good, west not so good, south absolutely not. Okay? So we have done this. Let's go back to... So here we have, everybody can see my little presentation again. So you have space, which is the Brahmasthanam. And then there's north on the top, south in the east and the west, and everybody knows these directions. Now, if you all have iPhone or whatever, I always, wherever I go, sometimes I have to go to people's houses to do a consultation. I will get my compass out, and I will make sure I am sitting in like a northeast direction or in the space area, and I'm facing east, and my client is facing west. Just let me give you one example. I once had a client, and I was about to sit in my chair, which was facing east, and she came and sat on my chair. She said, and every time she said, oh, I'm more comfortable in this chair. I said, okay, let me give you another chair. And every time she kept on facing south. So even before I started the consultation, I knew I could not help her much, because the universe was making her, there is no way she was allowing me to face east while doing a consultation. I was facing west, and she was facing south. That's how it kind of worked out. And it didn't matter. She had a back issue, whatever. So in Ayurveda, in Jyotish, there are certain things that universe will give you a hint. It's even given in Ayurvedic textbooks. Now, most Ayurvedic schools in India don't even want to talk about it because they want to be more clinical. Already, Ayurveda doctors are treated like second-hand citizens, so they want to be more clinical, so they kind of don't want to talk about it. But this is very important. The Ayurveda believes universe will give you a hint. For example, right in the first chapter of Charak Samhita, like it talks about Chikitsa Chatushapada, which is in my book as well. And it talks about the qualities of the doctor, Bhishaga, doctor's attendant, the client or the patient, and the person who is helping the patient or the client. You can look up at a person and their horoscope, and there will be certain auspicious or inauspicious. For example, if a client walks in wearing a certain color and faces it, a certain direction, and finds, if you were to put 4 chairs and they were to find the chair that faces south direction, for example, and they're wearing like this black color, and then there's all these, there's about 10 or 12 things that are described. Even Maharishi Parashara in the Jyotish, which my father used to talk about them all the time when he was reading Maharishi Bhrigu and Maharishi Parashara, talk about it. There will be signs in a person's face. There was once a young girl, and we were at a wedding, and of course my father, he did not know how to be tactful. He was an army man, so he saw this girl, and she had a very inauspicious sign, something on her face, and he told her that, and she got all upset. And she was young, and my dad was in his 80s. And she got all upset, and then she made such a big fuss about it. And he's like completely clueless. And he kind of predicted, based on that sign, that this was going to happen to her, something to do with her marriage and divorce within a year. And it happened exactly like that. He didn't even have to look at her horoscope. So he has taught me some of those things. You can look, for example, you can look at a person's neck, and I can, a person walks in, especially a female, I can look at their neck and tell if their husband's going to have a long life and if they're going to have money. There is this, there's 3 lines in the neck that run. It tells you if a woman is Saubhagyavati. So these are all these things that are written by the Maharishis. The same thing but all of these things that we are supposed to get. For example, let's say, Pradeepa, you have like 5 Raja Yogas. You're supposed to get, amazing amount of money and wealth and fame when you enter age 40, right? You're waiting, it's in your horoscope, everybody has told you that, you have the will, the hard work, or whatever, you've invented something. You reach 40, nothing happens. So you feel that something is blocking it. That could be Vastu. It is possible you're living in a place that you are blocking your own karma. Does that make sense? So one of the most common things that would be blocking your own karma from manifesting is the Vastu. So we moved into this new house, which is it's a huge house here in Austin. And we moved here, and it's taken me a good 7 months to, kind of correct the Vastu. I mean, I finished correcting the Vastu of the house. Now I'm working on the garden. We just put in the Northeast, we just put in a moving fountain, and fire. So let's look at this. In Vastu, first thing we do, whether we are doing the Vastu for a room, a desk, a house, or the piece of land where your house or apartment building sits on, or your office. Now, when architects design these things, they design buildings for efficiency. So maximum space, maximum lease, plus they also have to abide by the rules of the city, and the city code and the zoning code and whatnot. So we cannot do anything about the building, right? But what we can do is, change look at the directions. Now, Feng Shui gives you very simple things to do. Oh, there's water, you place it and it'll be okay. And that it does work. There's no doubt it doesn't work. It does work. But Feng Shui gives you like a Band-Aid. Feng Shui is honestly a Band-Aid, and it does work, but Vastu is a lot more important. Vastu will clear things that have, for example, like I said, Pradeepa, if you're 40 and you're supposed to get this amazing wealth and, maybe you're supposed to win the lottery, doing Feng Shui is not going to make you do that. But doing proper Vastu and using the principles of Sthapatya Veda, you would be able to win your lottery. Does that make sense? Because the things that they're using in Feng Shui are like little, things that you can put some water there, you can put a light there, you can put an earth element there, air element, yeah, that's fine. But in Vastu, we are also using yantras that are like the geometric models of planetary systems that are presided by different gods and goddesses. We are using mantras, we are using keystones, and we are using pyramids, which looks something like this. Let me. Three-dimensional pyramids are used for correcting, and these are established with mantras and yantras. And then there's these little keystones that are put in the land. So not just the room, but the building, the entrance, the land, and wherever there is a dosha, just like you and I have a dosha, we are kapha, pitta, vata. Similarly, your house or land also has a dosha. So person who is the prime breadwinner of the family, or if they're, two partners in there and they both are making money, both their charts are kept into account as well. And then these yantras, pyramids, keystones are put in the land, they're put in the house, the mantras are done, and it's done for 40 days. Lord Vishwakarma is invoked, and Vastu Purusha. Vastu Purusha is the presiding deity of Vastu, is provoked, whose head is here, body is here, legs are here. It's a funny, something like that. They're invoked, and for 40 days. And it changes the very energy of not just the house or the apartment, but even the land. And it changes the energy that comes in from the direction. So it's 100% more powerful than Feng Shui. Does it make sense? Okay, let's erase this. Okay. So the north direction, south direction, east and west. Another thing that happens is how does this dosha happen in the first place within the land? How will a dosha happen in a land? What do you think? How would a land or a house have a dosha? Oops. Think about it. Previous karma, okay, building and structure. No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about the land. How can land have a dosha? Yes. Okay, that karma, I will take your karma. Yes, yes. All of these are correct, but they're not the main reason. Have you heard of the word geopathic stress? The physical forces that act on a land. Yeah? Anybody heard of geopathic stress? Okay, let's talk about geopathic stress. Not talking about house or building here. If you have a land which has a dosha in the first place, it doesn't matter what kind of building is on the top of it. Even if it's made according to Vastu in the right direction, there is still a dosha because the land itself has a fault. So here is your geopathic stress. Of course, you have gravity. Oops. You have gravity that acts on it, right? Here we go. Can everybody see this? So you have this little, okay, perfect. So you see this little gamma rays in the west. You have magnetic energy from the north. You have infrared rays from the south. And you have solar energy from the east. So under the land, you have your longitudes and your latitudes. And under the land are these, lines that flow. You have magnetic lines that flow. First of all, you have the North Pole, and then you have the South Pole. right? So in the Vastu, when we talk about north direction, we talk, what it means is that you're facing the true magnetic north. What does the true magnetic north mean? Anybody? What is true magnetic north? Think about it. Yes. So do you guys use Google Maps? Everybody, I mean, I use Google Maps. So, you know, every time you look at something on Google Maps, they always are showing the true magnetic north. Let's look at Google Maps right now. Let's get this sorted out. All right, I'm just going to share my house. Here you go. All right. This is the land. And you see, this would be your true, let's do, Pradeepa, you are where, in San Francisco or what, in Connecticut? I can't remember. Okay, doesn't matter. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Let's do Ann Arbor, Michigan, somewhere. Building in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Let's just pick up a random building here. Great, this is actually done very nicely. Let's pick up the university here. Okay, Michigan Engineering, let's pick that up. Okay. So now it's facing, you see this? This is the true north. This is north. This is south. This is east, going east and west. So Google Maps is always facing the true magnetic north, no matter what you do. So when you're trying to find out, the city is laid out pretty nicely, actually. See how everything is straight? Everything is rectangle and straight. I mean, except for this road right here. So it's laid out, this is laid out very nicely. When it's not straight and in a rectangle, then it actually gives a bad, so everything is like, see, everything is straight, which means all the buildings would be straight as well. So this is your true north. This is your south. Make sense? So when we're looking at a Vastu of, for example, a Vastu of this city, it seems really good. So maybe I would say that's why this is such a expensive and trendy area, probably. Is that right, Pradeepa? Because of the Vastu is laid out. Yep. Yeah, very nice Vastu. Very nicely done. We should probably go check the Vastu of, what is that place in, you know, where all the auto industry used to be, and now you can buy a house for $10,000. It's kind of all gone to dogs. What is the place? Detroit? Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. Okay. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you an idea. So this, every time you look at it, this is north, south. True north faces true north. Here, if you, oh, you can see the building, you can see how it is laid out, right? So this is nicely done. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint. So coming back to that, you have the magnetic energies of the north. If you're aligned. So we saw the little map of Ann Arbor in Michigan, right? And how it was aligned from top to bottom, aligned to the magnetic energies of the north. So it was aligned like in a cross, north and south and east and west, kind of like in crisscross fashion, right? That is very auspicious. If you have a city laid out like that, it is aligned with magnetic energies of the north, which means the houses and the buildings and the universities is aligned like that. That will attract auspiciousness and money and wealth, and it'll be very positive, except for there was one road which was kind of weird. Except for that, everything seemed really good. And when we talk about energies of the east, it's called the solar energies of the east. So in the east and west you have something called gamma rays, south you have infrared rays. And so we are only concerned with the energies of the east and the north because it is a positive energy. So when the land and the city is aligned with these two, then it is auspicious. So that will be the dosha of the land. If the land is not aligned with this, and so that means instead of going in, a rectangular fashion, how we saw the Ann Arbor, instead of going like that, it was all crisscross, zigzag, and it wasn't going north and south and east and west, but it was kind of in a weird angle, which means everything was facing south or west. That means then that would be kind of like a Detroit situation. So we should probably look at it as well. So we are not even gone into the house yet. Forget the house and the building. We are still talking about the land. Another thing that happens in the land, especially considering in the, now, if you live in a city, the city will put public utilities. For example, like we have Google Fiber tearing down, and there's this whole, because Google Fiber has come everywhere. You got AT&T, and they all kind of tear down, and they're trying to put all these fiber optic cables in, right? And so you think those fiber optic cables is not going to affect the land in your house? Of course it will. Luckily for us in Austin, there are so many trees that absorb that rays of the energy of the, I don't want to use the word fiber optics, but this electrical energy, let's call it that. Or if you have, let's say, TV antennas all over, or if you have a radio tower, if you have a cell tower. In India, people will get paid money to have a cell tower on top of their house, and they think of it as an income. So you will see, in random houses, you have like a cell tower in random houses because they get money for it, right? But do you know how bad it will be for their, they live in that house. It's not even a commercial building. They sleep in that house. So all these antennas and radio towers and even if you have a utility or even a river running, a little stream running down your house, all of that affects the land on which the building is built. Another dosha of the land can be, let's say, this was a land where, has anyone been to England? I don't want to say bad things about England, but has anybody been to England? Britain? Anyone? Okay, so you haven't missed much, let me tell you. Now, London has one of the worst energies ever. So bad. I can't stand it. I'm not talking about, it's a beautiful place, it's very vibrant, but because of what has happened, the land has a lot of baggage from thousands of years. They would take women and call them witches and hang them, and they had all these wars. The entire land, Scotland's not so much like that, but especially Britain, it has such a heavy duty karmic energy that you were talking about, Vito, the karma. Another place which the land itself has a weird energy is Las Vegas, the Strip. Please tell me everybody's been there. I mean, we all love it. We all love Las Vegas, right? But if you go to the strip, do you notice how heavy duty the air is from Tamas? It is so tamasic. I will go to the strip for an hour and then I need to get out. I mean, but outside is beautiful. It's that the land itself has got seeped in this. You know what I'm talking about? You have to be sensitive to these things. Another place in California, you know, we used to go from San Diego to we used to drive over to LA all the time, and you know where the San Onofre uh, nuclear plants were there. You know what I'm talking about, Christina? So the San Onofre, the nuclear facility, it's no longer in use, but the energy of the land in and around it was just in and after Camp Pendleton, the nuclear facility, and you were so far away from it when you would take the 5 on it. You could feel that because of the presence of nuclear facility, for thousands of years that land is going to have a problem. So you have created a man-made dosha in the land. When all of these, you know, materials, the radioactive materials are present in naturally in the earth's surface, that area is also kind of naturally, it has a dosha, right? For example, there are houses, Pradeepa, like where you are in Michigan, in that area, where you have, you know, like radon gas. It seeps in from the soil, and inhaling it can cause lung cancer because it's a radioactive gas, right? So being in such an area would also be a dosha of the land. Or when environmental pollutants have been dumped into water, that becomes a dosha. But you have the natural dosha and the man-made dosha of the land. And we haven't even gotten to, you know, so where a person lives, what city they live in, um, you know, sometimes the city will treat your water with many, many chemicals and so on. They all contribute towards the, you know, the health. So just imagine, we haven't even gotten to the building part yet. As from the Vastu perspective, we need to make sure that we are aligned to the magnetic energies of the north and the east, and we are not aligned to the south and the west. Very simple. Now, ancient Indian buildings were constructed because of this. Let's look at the, it's the same presentation, but I'm going a little bit deeper. Whether, let's say this is the land, right? The land should be rectangular. I'm not even going in the building. I'll talk about buildings in the next flow. If you live in, how many of you live in a house versus an apartment? You have a house. So the plot, which they call the plat, yeah. The plat is how they, in India we call them plots, here they call them plats, is the land on which your house sits. Let's just talk about that. I'm not even going into your house or apartment. Or if you live in an apartment building, think of the land on which your apartment building is in. Or if it's a huge one, think of, you know, if you're building number 4, let's say, your building number 4 is in what kind of land? Is this land square? Is this land round? Is this land kind of an L shape? Number 2, is this land aligned with the north? Let's go back to Google Maps. I'm going to stop recording if anybody wants to share their house address and we can look at their plat. You can look at my plat if you want. I have no problem with that. Anybody? Oops. What did I do? Okay, share Google Maps. Anybody want to give me their address? All right, let's do user. Okay, let's do Pradeepa, then we'll do Connor. Mm, where did it go? Here it is. So it's completely aligned to the north. Yes or no? Can anybody tell me? Yes, it is aligned to the north and south energies are not aligned. No, don't forget, we are not talking about what faces or not faces. Is it aligned to this imaginary line? Let me annotate it. This is your true north and this is the south. Is your house aligned to the true north? Yes or no? Anybody? Do you think this house is aligned to? Yes, yes, exactly, Tatiana. You are aligned to the true north. That is important. Meaning your house is not like this. Because if it was shaped like this, then it is not aligned. It's aligned like this. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know the alignment? Okay. See, all these houses are aligned. This one is not aligned. See, this house right here. It is aligned like this. Do you see what I'm talking about, Pradeepa? See, this is not a true north. It's kind of weird way. It's aligned towards your gamma rays of the gamma and the infrared rays, the land. No, 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 Jane, you don't need to move. That's why you have keystones and pyramids. No, we are not talking about the house yet. I'm talking about the land and how the house is sitting on the land. If your house is under 10 degrees from the true north, that doesn't matter. For example, this is your true north, right? Look at this house. This is true north, true south, everything here. Yeah, these are all great. This is all great. This is another one. So this one is like under 10 degrees, just maybe 15 degrees. It's not that bad. This one is more like 30, 25 degrees. So this person right here, they're going to have health issues. Doesn't make sense? So let's just do a new one. Shall we look at Jamaica? Okay, hang on. Let me do. Let's erase this. Are you getting what I'm trying to tell you about the true north and the south and alignment of the house or the building or the? It has nothing to do with what you are facing. It is being aligned is more important than what you're facing. Oh, okay, no problem. So this is the house. No, let's see. Let's find the house here. All right. There you are. So it is aligned like this. Which one is it, Connor? It's not aligned properly. Yeah, Tatiana, you can give me the address of the hill. The skinny long, this one? Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, so this one, this is the true north, and this is the true, so it's aligned like this. Any idea how many degrees it's off? Anybody? It is approximately 30 degrees off, you're right. So it's way too off. It's going to corner. Yeah. Yeah. It's about 30 degrees off. So, yeah. And even the land, look at, forget the house. All the houses in this land are off. Do you see? This is your north. So if a house was aligned like this, no problem. The land itself is this way. So in order to correct it, let's talk about how we're going to correct it. Let's just look at the land here. So the land, it is more than 30 degrees to me, it seems. This is the land, right? This is the plat. See how this is the north and south, and it should be like this. This is how it should be. So if you call a Vastu consultant, what the Vastu consultant will do is put keystones and make it square. Does that make sense? Let's clear this. So we will put 4 keystones here. Let's do it right now. I'm going to invoke mentally. I will invoke Lord Vishwakarma, and mentally I'm putting 4 keystones here. Let's put Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Narayanaya Namaha. 1 keystone here. 1 keystone here. 1 keystone here. Here. And here. And you should see a difference today. Do you see what I'm trying to do? To make it more square by putting mantras and keystones. Connor, I need feedback. Yeah. So we are not talking about the house, we're talking about the land. So by putting, the keystone's energetical, whether it's in someone else's house, it doesn't matter. The keystone is a small keystone put with mantras to make a place square so that it's aligning with the true north. So when Michael Mastro comes, he will put these. Yeah, you can put a metal and it has to be buried in the soil. So you're kind of making a boundary which makes it square. Does it make sense? See, how deep? It could be like, it doesn't have to be that deep. As long as nobody digs it out, that's the idea. Okay, let's look at another place. We are now going to another place. Jamaica. Oh, this is completely, look at this. Let's go a little in there. And Lipscomb Avenue. Okay, that I couldn't find. So this, let's say this is the Jamaica that Tatiana has given us. See the houses here? How they're aligned? I know you can't see this properly. Do you see the house here? So instead of align, it's like this. It's almost like 40 degrees. Oh, more south? Sorry, I'm trying to look for. All right, let's move. Here, this, the big house. This is a big house. No, this is not a house. Look at these houses right here. They're completely aligned. Do you see these? All of them are aligned with the north. See? They're all aligned with the true north. Oh, the bush one? Is this it? Is this it, Tatiana? So it's about, I would say 15, 16, under 20 degrees. It's not that bad. Yeah. So what you do is if you own the land there, so what you want to do is right now you want to make the land square. So for example, you will, because this land is all over the place, you will put like a yantra here, 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 a little keystone. So it becomes like a rectangle. Now we have completely aligned the land, not the house. Then we can then go ahead and align the house later. We are not, this class is, I'm talking only about the land portion. And then in one of the next classes, you'll talk about the land. I need you to understand what aligning your land, I mean, it can be done energetically through yantras, through keystones. Does it make sense? Because this land is all over the place. It's all over the place. So that is not, vast. So you just make a little boundary. And also putting keystones, you know how when people have really big houses and they do not have a boundary. If you do not have a boundary, for example, if you do not have a fence or a boundary, then also it causes problems. So don't have to be far at all. Don't have to be, it could be just like this. As long as it's square. Yeah, so these stones, the little stones, they're called keystones that you put in, you say a mantra. For example, you say, you invite Vishwakarma or Dhanvantari or Ganeshji, you say the mantras and you just bury them on 4 sides of the house, making a square boundary. That's it. That's it. And, you just kind of make a mental boundary. We used to have a bigger house in California and yeah, it had, the east side was huge. It was like an acre. So we did this as well. We just made this boundary. Okay. Are we understanding that aligning with the north now? So your land, for example, if you have a plat of land on which your house sits is round, and it may have other houses in there as well. Yeah, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 6 houses in there. It's kind of like a round, weird shape. So the land has a dosha. It doesn't matter even if your house is facing east. So what you will do is you will take 4 little keystones and say your mantras, and you will put, let me do another color here. You will put your keystone, let's say this is your house, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now the land has a boundary and it's aligning true north, and now you have done your Vastu correction of the land. Yes, you can, Jane. If you cannot go into their house, you can do it mentally. Like I just did for Connor. So you're completely safe. First, it has to be square. Second, it has to be facing true north. No, just do it in mentally. Yeah. No problem. Well, that's why, that's why it is Vastu. So does it make sense? 6920 north. No, that doesn't mean it's facing north, Viro. Does not mean that it's facing north. Right now, we are not talking about the building. I just want you to understand the dosha of the land on which your house sits. And then next class, we will apply the same principles to your house. I mean, this is like the 5th slide, almost done with the class. So let's say your, okay, where did it go? Let's say your house is something like this. It's an L shape, right? Or let's say the shape of the land on which your house sits. Let's say your house is right here, and there's other houses there. So what are you going to do? And the land, so you will put keystones just in these two. You can mentally divide this into 2 different houses. So you have one square and one rectangle. So Jane, do you understand what I'm saying here? It is, let's say if this is a house, right? And it is L shape. You can put keystones and yantras in the house, dividing the house into 2. So now it's 2 different entities. But we'll talk about keystones in another class. And now you have 2 different, so now both of them are corrected. And if this was a piece of land, then you bury this in the land. If this is a house, then you put the yantras and the keystones on the wall. Okay? So you put yantras here. Yeah. So not only can you correct the land, you also need to correct your house and land. So they're both either rectangles. So let's say it has this shape. Like, you know how people have all these outbuildings coming here and then there's here. Let's say this is one house, right? It's all over the place. So because people will put outbuildings and whatnot. So you need to put your yantra and keystone here, 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 here. So all of them, you're establishing boundaries and saying all of them are separate entities. So Viro, we have not even talked about entrances right now. This shape is more important than an entrance. Aligning north is more important. It doesn't matter if your house faces west, as long as it is aligned to the north energies of the northern magnetic energies. That is more important. Make sense? It's an Indian thing. We are so obsessed with where it faces. That is more a feng shui thing. Feng shui is more obsessed with entrances. We are more obsessed with the land. Why? Because where we eat, where we sit, the land affects our dosha. The land affects our health. The land affects our monies and auspiciousness. And house is an entity that sits on the land. Okay? So once you've got this square thing, let's say you are, let's say you live in a house or you have a client who lives in a house and they're sharing like 3 bedrooms and it's like there are 3 people living there and they're sharing rent, right? Then you kind of need to treat your bedroom, let's say this is your bedroom in a house, as a separate entity, as a separate house. Again, putting boundaries there. Make sense? So we've understood about boundaries and land. That's the end of today's class. Let me just go back to my whiteboard one more time. Connor, there's a lot of classes coming on this. I want you to be able to look at the plat and understand where to place the keystones and the yantras and mantras. So you'll do a separate class on yantras and mantras. Till then, all I want you to do is go to Google Maps, look at your house and the land, look at your friends, look at your parents, look at your neighbors, and look at if it's aligned to the true north or not. That's what you kind of want to do today. For every direction, there is a different yantra and a different mantra. I don't think Hanumanji is anywhere in this. I use Vaishnav yantras. For Vayu, obviously it'll be Vayu Dev. For fire, it'll be Agni Dev. Yes. So you have water, you have fire, you have earth. Let's look at that very nice thing she had. Yeah, she had a much better one than me. Yeah. Water, fire, earth, and air, right? So now go back and look at your land. So Pradeepa, look at the land, right? Not the house. We're not looking at the house, looking at the land on which your house sits. So if this is your land and your house is on the space, what will happen? This is the land, right? And let's say everything's correct, it aligns to the true north, but your house is constructed in the space part of the land, which sometimes it is, right? Normally it's not. Normally people have it will be either on the left side or the right side or somewhere, right? What will happen if the house is constructed in the space portion of the land? What do you think? From an Ayurvedic perspective, yes, there will be vata imbalance in people who live because there is no space. There will be blockages. So how do we correct it? We will make the boundary of the land like this. We will something like this. Now, when you make a boundary like this, it is now kind of more towards the west. There is more space in the north and east. Make sense? And we have completely cut down the border here. Does it make sense? So when you call a Vastu consultant, and now we have corrected it. No, now you're definitely still hinging on the space, but not as much. Is it making sense? All right, let's go back and let me show one more. Let's say your house is all here. And this is your land. What kind of issues will happen to a person in this area? The house is constructed in the water portion. If the house is in the water portion of the land, what do you think will happen? Quickly, we have just a couple of minutes left. Yes, Tatiana, kapha problem. The water should be flowing and there's earth blockage there. Total kaphaja issues will happen. So the person who will come and do the vastu will then again do something like this. So now this is the earth element. This is the water element. This is the air, something like that they will do. And they will place keystones and yantras here and here and here and in the center, something like that. This will not take 100% the problem, but it'll take care of most of it. Let's go and look at the last ones. Now, if a person's house is kind of in the fire area, it's all in the fire area, they will have all pitta issues. But if you were to put a boundary in all the four directions, once you put a boundary, what happens? Now this becomes the air, this becomes the earth, this becomes the water. Does it make sense? Every time you put a boundary, the five Mahabhutas, the five elements manifest. And we have corrected the problem. Does that make sense? So even if you still own it, we have put a boundary here. Boundaries are very important. And this is where ideally your house should have been, in the earth. Okay? I just want to share one more thing, I promise. That's it. The Maharishi Ayurveda. One second. Let's see if we can find a picture with a boundary. Oh, there we go. Can everybody see this? This is a house with a courtyard. You know this thing outside, that's a boundary. With the courtyard, they've made a boundary. You see the boundary here, little thing? You need boundaries. You cannot have a house without boundaries. Okay, this is a kitchen, not interested. You see a little boundary? You cut that area and you give boundaries. So if a house doesn't have this, we are not interested in. There was a couple here that I had found which had, even when you have, like in the east, you see they have water, which the northeast is water, they still have a boundary. And you can put your own boundary, you could put your own boundary. All you need to do is like buy a little, one of those little boundary thingies from Home Depot, like a plastic one, and put a little boundary. Also, if you have a house, a land which is sloping on the right or the left or down, it's sloping down, you need to put a boundary where the slope is, otherwise all your finances will slope down. Does it make sense? For example, if a person has, I had friends who had a really expensive house in Del Mar, which was like a $10 million home or something. Kept on getting sick. Now their house faced the Pacific Ocean. So their Vastu consultant had them install a little boundary between the ocean and put keystones there. And it really helped. So it didn't take care of the problem, but it really helped. Or if you have, like, you live on a hill, like California, everybody lives on a hill. And especially if everything is going down, so your finances, health, the good news is bad things also slope down, but so does the good. So if you live in a hill and you don't have a boundary, all your money, auspiciousness, wealth, everything's going to go down the drain. It just goes down. Just like soil needs to be held by trees, right? The topsoil. Similarly, the energy needs to be held as well. So you put a boundary, not just by putting stakes, little keystones in or little boundary in, but you actually need to say a mantra. You need to do a boundary with a mantra. So have we understood that first the land should be aligned to the true magnetic north, and it can be corrected with keystones. If it is 10 degrees, if the house is within, or the land is within 10 degrees or so, even up to, I would say 15, it can be easily corrected. No problem. If it's 20 degrees or more, then it's a big problem. So that's number one and number two. And number three, we need to have boundaries and keystones. And if there's a slope, that boundary needs to be put in. And next class, we will start going into the actual house or the building or the apartment. Yeah? Any questions? Any questions? All right. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Was the audio okay? I mean, some of you have joined the Zoom for the first time. Yeah, I like it because sharing is much better. All right. So I will see you next Saturday. Dr. Priyanka and Atul have a class, and then my class is going to be next week. I don't have a huge lesson plan in mind. I just kind of want to make you understand how Vastu and Sthapatya Veda work. If you could give me blueprint of the land or houses if you live in, or your friends who want to do a Vastu consult, let's just do it for them. You think you have someone who would be interested in getting like a Vastu thing? Yeah, so make some, and then, I would rather do that than just give you lectures. Lectures don't even make sense because this is such a practical thing. Homework, go on Google Maps, look at your house, look at the land, look at your neighbors, and see what aligns to true north and how many degrees off from true north it is. Yeah. All right. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.